Been on. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's March 14th. We are 6:39, right along schedule. Tonight is Public Safety and Transportation Committee, and we are going to begin our meeting. Go over the ground roll, please.
No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participant icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subject on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized.
Call to order, which we already did technically, and now we'll do roll call. Do you have to open the door for someone?
You know where the button is?
Yep.
Thanks.
It's not the very obvious large button, it's the very small.
Yeah, it's trying to. Ready?
Ready.
Jose Altamirano,
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo.
She's walking in, here in 10 seconds.
Okay,
Stephanie, say
I'll
say
circle
here.
back. Anthony Brown, Kenneth Crouch,
Present.
Carlos Diaz,
Present.
Wanda Hopkins. Sage Mason,
Present.
Claudia Perez. Dawn Sanders. Greta Summer.
Yeah.
And Michelle Wilshire Clement.
I am here.
And Stephanie Arroyo.
Here.
You have a quorum, okay?
Thank you. We shall begin.
You wanna adopt yourself?
Please, we do it by
Acclamation?
acclamation.
Okay, so nobody objects?
Anybody object for our adoption of agenda and committee minutes? No? Thank you. Anyone have announcements? We'll also do announcements at the end. Any announcements from anyone, birthdays, anniversaries? Happy news.
I'll say on,
How's your college graduation coming on?
still on track.
Good.
And my ceremony will be on May 20th.
Your which one?
Ceremony.
Oh,
Congrats.
congratulations. That is great news.
Thank you. On a much less optimistic note, it's important to note that March 12th was the 10-year anniversary of the explosion down the block. I think some,
10 years old? Wow.
yeah, that's what I thought.
I was here when that shit happened.
That shouldn't have been said, because I.
I came out my building and I looked to the right, I thought it was the mall.
Oh my God, it's before it happened. That was 2014. I was working at a county. I mean. We talked it. But once we had, okay.
10 years, wow. Yeah. Candy, Barry, Michelle, trick or treating. All right, so we're gonna go to our informational updates. Do we have anyone from the 2-3 present? It looked real small, yeah, it's such a big screen, can't see no one.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening. This is Detective Rivera from 23rd.
Detective Rivera, pleasure to have you.
How are you? How are you? How's everybody? Hoping everybody's had a great evening, a great start to the month. Let's just get down to the nitty gritty. So the 23rd precinct is down as a whole in crime. The only things that we've had are an uptick in residential burgs. Most of them have been by a specific individual who we've arrested a few times already and is actually wanted again on a few more residential burgs. We've also had an uptick in robberies, primarily delivery personnel robberies. Again, we've had a few arrests in those Some have not been arrested, but we're continuing the investigations on those. We've also had a few assaults, but most of the assaults again have had arrest on them. Again, primarily most of them have been domestic violence assaults. So we've also had our domestic violence officers do a few outreaches to locations specifically, whether it's a shelter or whether it's just a residential building that's had that uptick. We've had them do outreaches so that we can make sure we can try to keep those down. Besides that, the only announcement I have is at the end of the month, the 27th, which I believe it is a Wednesday, the 23rd Precinct Community Affairs is hosting a sip and paint for our older adults inside of 1968 2nd Avenue. It's the Grand Street Wellness Senior Center. It's a new senior center in the confines of the 23rd Precinct. It's on 101st Street and 2nd Avenue. And we're actually doing a sip and paint for our older adults, just RSVP to myself. My cell phone number is 917-853-6532. Again, that's 917-853-6532. We're gonna do it's a nice sip and paint event for our seniors, our older adults. We're gonna be sipping on coffee, not wine, for those who are going to inquire and laugh about it. It is coffee that we are providing, not wine. So if you guys need that, or if you guys know anybody that wants to attend, just please have them RSVP so we make sure we have enough room for them. And that's it from the 23rd.
Thank you so much, Detective Rivera. We're going to do the Officer Powers 25th Precinct, and then we'll do questions together as we normally do. Mr. Powers.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. So for the 28-day period, for the 25th precinct, we're up 13% for the year, and we're up 5% for the 28-day period. We had 0 murders. We had 1 rape, but it was a domestic, incident related. We had 19 robberies. Felony assaults, we're up by 30%, with 39 compared to 30 last year. Burglaries, we're down by 46%, with 7 compared to 13. Grand larcenies, we're up by 8% with 34. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're up by 8% with 34 for the 28-day period. Grand larceny autos, we have 9 for the 28-day period. Again, the 1 rape that we had was domestic related incident. We recently took a stabbing at Lincoln Houses on March 8th. It was a domestic incident in which started with an argument between a 54-year-old man and a 65-year-old wife, which resulted in the husband stabbing the wife multiple times in the abdomen. He then stabbed himself in the abdomen in the murder, suicide attempt. Fortunately, both were taken to the hospital and recovering from their injuries. The suspect is in police custody. Grand larcenies are mostly driven by a combination of unattended property, delivery drivers leaving keys inside the cars with the engine running while delivering food, e-bikes, catalytic converters, and senior scams. We always urge, everyone to, if you're delivering food, through Uber Eats or whatever service it is, please take your keys out the cars, because people are watching you. When it comes to senior scams, we always, alert people that, like, if it's not, if anybody's calling, demanding money, saying that they're from a utility, place or the police department, because there's a lot of those calls going around, hang up, because more than likely they're all scams. On Wednesday, March 20th, we will be hosting a family game night at Renaissance School of the Arts in partnership with, the school and, the 25th Precinct. The school is located at 319 East 117th Street. It'll start at 4:30 p.m. Immediately following the game night, it's our community council meeting, which will begin at 6 p.m. and they'll be at the same location. The family game night is for, everyone of all ages, and it's free. I'll see if I can put it in the chat. As far as the migrant coverage, because I know we get like a lot of questions about that. We do have like 2 shifts. It's 24-hour coverage. Each shift have about like 40 officers. So it's day and night coverage, like, around the bridges, the surrounding areas, all the entrances to Randall's Island. And that's all from the 25th Precinct.
Thank you, Officer Powers. Do we have any questions for either Detective Rivera or Officer Powers? Michelle?
I was just wondering, thank you for your reports. I really appreciate both of y'all being present and giving a report. I was just wondering, with the 40 officers that are covering for, the different entrances for Randall's Island, for the migrants, has that put a strain on your, precinct?
So those 40 cops, we get them from everywhere. They're pulled from citywide from each command. So it's not just the 25th precinct or the 23rd precinct. They're all citywide. So it's helpful. You know, some of them are on overtime, so so we have extra coverage. But it's not just our command, it's everywhere. It's a citywide initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I'll leave my email in the chat because I'm not able to post the flyer inside the chat. So I'll email it to you, and I'll also email the flyer to everyone as well for our game night. So
Can you verbally say your email address for the record?
okay, it's my first name dot my last name, so it's Troycara.Powers, TROYCARA.Powers @nypd.org.
We could also share that in case you ever need it. All right, Detective Rivera, Officer Powers, thank you so much. We appreciate you and everything you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No problem. Have a good evening.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay if you want, though. Just saying.
Do we have anyone from PSA 5? Supposed to visit them, talk to the commanding officer who's. They don't visit us that often. DOT, do we see Rafael here?
I understand. I didn't see here earlier.
Okay. We have someone from the TAs who will
Yeah.
forward. Is anyone from the district attorney's office here?
Yes, sir. Rima's here.
Oh, thank you.
How
for
you
being-
doing?
Hey,
You're
Jose?
welcome.
All right,
Jose?
it shows-
Wait, someone's talking.
Can somebody hear me?
Let's-
Jose, this is Rafael.
Oh, okay. All right, Rafael, give us a second and then we'll get to you right after we have the district attorney's office.
I'm having difficulties, joining that.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Don't know why.
Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Sharima Harvell. I'm the East Harlem Community Engagement Coordinator for the Manhattan DA's office. Today, I will be reporting on the Manhattan crime statistics between 2021 to 2023. And I'm starting with shootings. Shootings in Manhattan is down 38%. Shooting victims in Manhattan is down 40%. Homicides in Manhattan is down 21%. Burglary in Manhattan is down 23%. Rapes in Manhattan is down 28%. Felony assaults in Manhattan was down 1%. Grand larceny in Manhattan was down 2%. Robberies in Manhattan is down 8%. And petty larceny is down in Manhattan by 8%. And excuse me, the numbers and years changed. And in the burglary in Manhattan is from 22-23. Rapes in Manhattan is from 22-23. The felony assault in Manhattan is from 22-23. And petty larceny, the robberies, and grand larceny is all from 22-23. Are there any public safety questions for our office that I could take back and bring back an answer?
Questions, Karen?
I wanted to be refreshed on whether you have your internship again. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. So the internships for the high school internship program,
Yes.
so that was over last week. So last week was the deadline to have those in.
Okay,
But we're looking at other options to send out to everybody, like other partners that may have internships, because we understand how important it is. So if you guys even know anybody that can partner with us, just letting us know as like a hub or access and resource, we'd appreciate it too, because a lot of folks are still asking about it.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Can she repeat her name again?
Oh, Sharima Harvell. Sharima Harvell.
How do you spell your last name?
Got it. HARV as in Van, ELL. And that's also my email. So it's harvels@danny.nyc.gov.
If you get a chance, could you put your email in the chat so that we can have it on the record there in case anyone needs it?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Rafael, you still having problems? You still with us? Let's give him a moment. Last time he had a little today. Rafael? Feel like you're ghost hunting. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, as I said, I'm unable to use my laptop. I'm unable to join you. So I'm with my cell phone. So if you could hear me, clearly, please let me know. Okay, excellent. So Jose and the rest of the members, you received the letter in response to Xavier's letter, correct?
Yes, we got the letter.
Okay, so, but I wanted to tell you that we are closed, almost there with the issue of that Riverside, East River Plaza, 117th Street and Pleasant Avenue.
I'm not
So
sure
what
how
I
to,
need to tell you,
Rafael, I don't know how
Go
to
ahead.
interpret almost there with the DLT. That could mean 3 to 5 years. But I appreciate it. I'm hoping this summer.
we are closer than what we were when I joined you back close to a year ago. Not close, about a year or so ago. So we are closer to finalizing that particular project. And I'm happy to tell you that because of my effort, I'm asking questions, things are really getting to where you want it to be. That you might not have the granite black, it's another matter, but what we're going to be able to install there is something that will definitely prevent vehicle to get into that area at any time. I understand that your concern is the safety of those pedestrians using that pedestrian lane, but we are going to be monitoring after we install the traffic stops throughout. And if it's not something that can really provide the safety that you have always been looking for, we can revisit that to make it happen like you want it to be. Is there anything that I'm unable to explain clearly?
If you're having some issues, we might as well bring it up now. You're under old business for the 128th Street project that DOT was proposing. Have we had an update? I haven't heard anything in months. Last time we were in planning phase. And then
It's been planned.
permanent, and then, you know, I told on DOT with Diana Ayala's office, and you guys got in trouble, but where are we now?
What was that? What was that about Ayala?
I said, where are we now with that project? Do you know? Cause I haven't heard anything lately.
128th Street and Third Avenue?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, that is being working on. It's remember that's a capital project, and it takes time to be developed. So,
Could you do us a favor, Rafael, and see if you can get us an update for next month? We would.
oh,
we would
certainly I will do it.
It's been roughly
Yes.
1 year since you guys presented to us on that. It's been a significant amount of time. There should be some update on it by now.
Yes, I will. I will inquire, and
Perfect.
I will let you know next month.
Perfect, that'd be great. Thank you, Rafael. Do we have any questions for Rafael? No, everything, you sure? You have a question? Something substantial? Yes, go ahead, Michelle.
Raphael, did you
So you mean
say,
an answer?
Wait, Rafael, she's asking a question. Michelle, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly. This is Michelle. And did you
Hi,
say that?
Michelle.
Hi, did you say traffic stops were going to be put in place at 117th Street as opposed to the barriers that we asked for? I just want to make sure, because I might have misheard you.
It's the original elements that we were going to put in there were the granite blocks. So that is not going to be done because of the reason that I had given you before.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly. Thank you. I appreciate it for you.
So, but we're going to be installing something that will be sort of like preventing any vehicle to park there or to go inside of that area during some pedestrian being walking in the lane. But we will be monitoring after the installation, so make sure that things are going to go as we had planned with the safety element that we have put in.
I haven't sent you any more pictures, Rafael, because obviously you guys are already working on it. We'll send you a formal letter from this committee and from the full board. And thankfully that has helped to move something forward. But yeah, it's still happening. It's a daily situation where someone parks their vehicle there, so. But we're hoping that soon we'll have something in place.
And indeed, what we wanted to do is to kind of alleviate your concern regarding the safety that you had brought up to our attention. And we will monitor the area following the installation and continue to coordinate with you on any additional modification that may be needed in the future. So, you can reach out to me anytime you wish, and I will be there for all of you.
Thank you, Rafael.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we're gonna move forward. We took care of all business there all of a sudden. We'll get an update next month. We'll move on to our presentation and discussions. We have the Park Avenue Viaduct progress update. Do we have Joe O'Donnell on? Perfect. From the MTA.
Yep.
Did you make him bigger? Do we see him?
I can't, I'll have to take down the slide. You want me to take it down? I can if you want me to.
Please, if you can make me taller, Jose, I will greatly appreciate that.
You do a little bit of everything, Joe. I see you for the Second Avenue subway. Now you're on the, all right, go ahead, please, show's yours.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all having me here tonight. I'm also joined by members of our community outreach team, Eric Zaretsky and Molly Hollister, as well as Nick Altimeter from our construction project management team. So we're here to talk to you tonight about the Park Avenue Viaduct, give you a sense of where we are with the project and where we'll be going over the summer and into the end of Q4 of 2024 and beyond. I do have a presentation if it's okay for me to share my screen.
Please.
He's gonna get smaller again. Smaller again, because he's gonna put his presentation up.
That's fine.
Okay.
So we'll see the presentation.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Great. So as mentioned, we're here to talk to you tonight about the Park Avenue Viaduct project. I'm going to run through a brief presentation. I'll probably go a little bit quickly through the upfront stuff because it's the background, and most of you know that already. Then we'll get to the construction updates and schedule, talk to you about the gantry update. We've sent out flyers about the upcoming gantry mobilization and what the gantry is going to do, but we do have more information on that in a video. We'll also provide information on La Placita and what we've been doing from a community outreach standpoint. And then, as always, happy to entertain questions. So from a background standpoint, obviously the Park Avenue Viaduct is an elevated steel structure. It's over 131 years old. It carries 4 Metro-North Railroad tracks above Park Avenue in East Harlem. Right now, it is a single point of failure. We obviously are working on another project, the Penn Station Access Project, which will add a secondary lifeline for Metro-North. But until that project is done, this is the only lifeline into and out of Manhattan. 98% of all of Metro-North trains use this viaduct. 750 trains and 220,000 customers use the viaduct on a typical pre-COVID weekday. It's 125 miles long and 5 track miles. As I mentioned, it is the main artery into and out of the city. So what is the replacement project? The MTA and MTA Construction and Development, the agency for which I work, along with Metro North, are replacing major segments of the Park Avenue Viaduct to maintain its state of good repair. This ensures that Metro North service can continue to run to and from the Harlem community. And it'll also be done so that there are no changes to the existing number of tracks and no significant impacts to Metro North service into and out of Harlem, the 125th Street station, while we're doing this work. So there's multiple phases to this project. We're currently in phase 1. So that is the area in red in the red box that you see between 115th and 123rd Street station. And that's the area that we'll be focusing on tonight. Those are the priority repairs. Overall, the project is intended to achieve a state of good repair, and it will, and by doing so, we will maintain the safety for the public and the railroad. The viaduct will be more resilient and up to modern industry standards. It'll ensure that service continues uninterrupted into and out of Harlem 125th Street Station into Grand Central Station and the Bronx and points north. The new viaduct will be used or constructed using modern materials. So by default, it's going to reduce noise and vibration levels because it's going to be a more modern structure. This project will also include an arts component. So there is MTA Arts and Design went through a very public arts procurement process. There was an open call for artists and then a public voting on, if you will, of the arts, that the artists who submitted proposals. We do have the artists selected. They are in the process of finalizing their project or their product. So we don't have anything to share on that just yet, but hopefully in the months ahead we will. Obviously, this project is a pathway into union jobs for the local community. It includes tens of millions of dollars for DBE contracts. We've obviously integrated this project with our interagency partners, one of which we just heard from in Raphael and DOT, but we're also working with DOT on some under viaduct improvements. We are going to be inducing construction induced spending into the area. And I also mentioned job creation. It provides a unique opportunity to partner with local schools on STEM. Molly and her outreach team have been actively engaged with the schools along the viaduct alignment to work with many schools, including the charter schools, to tap into the curriculum that they're learning about in the classroom and how those STEM classroom, the STEM curriculum ties into the work that's going on right in their own backyard. So the engineering, the design, all tying into those maths and sciences that folks are learning about in the classroom. So those are fun, engaging activities, not only for the kids, but for our team as well. And then obviously this project is going to reduce traffic congestion and improve air quality because we're going to be creating a more resilient, reliable viaduct, and hopefully folks get out of cars and into trains because they can trust the service into and out of Manhattan. And then the viaduct will be constructed utilizing sustainable materials. So for the updates and where we're going, as you can see in the red star, We are just about in Q2 of 2024. 2020 Q2 is going to see us move from the substructure work that you've seen going on underneath the viaduct into the superstructure or above ground work. You'll also be seeing La Placida relocated during this time. Eventually, in Q2 of 2025, we'll be moving on to stage C, which is again superstructure construction, but on the south side, or actually it's on the west side of the viaduct, working north to south. So what are we seeing right now? This is a rendering, if you will, of a typical work zone of the substructure work. Parking lanes on Park Avenue were temporarily removed on a rolling basis while we did that work underneath the viaduct. Emergency access was maintained at all times. The sidewalks remained open. The impacts were to the streets and to the parking areas primarily, because we needed to move that traffic lane from closest to the viaduct over to the center, and then the center lane over to the parking lane. The superstructure construction was anticipated to last from Q3, or the substructure construction rather, of 2023 to Q3 of 2024. So we'll be finishing that up as we start with the superstructure or above ground work, above viaduct. You can see here, we have a series of photos of where the work is completed. The first photo to the left is Lot 1. That is where we relocated Urban Garden Center to. We created 2 new greenhouses there for the UGC group to move their materials into. We also coordinated with them on an off-site location for their back of the house and storage areas on 117th Street. The next photo you can see moving towards the center is Lot 6. That's that substructure work that I mentioned underneath the viaduct. That continued for Lot 7, Lots 8, Lots 9, 11, and 12. So we are complete with that substructure work in Lot 12 and in Lot 6, as well as Lot 7. We continue to work in Lots 8 and 9. So for Lot 6, as I mentioned, that work from 116th to 117th Street, that substructure work is complete. Lot 7, from 117th to 118th, that substructure work is complete. The substructure work for Lot 8 began in February of 2024, and that is progressing. Lot 9, from 119th to 120th, that substructure work is also complete. On the right-hand side, you can see some photos of that progress. Lot 10, that's 120th to 121st. That substructure work is ongoing. Similarly, Lot 11, 121st to 122nd, that work is ongoing. And then Lot 12 from 122 to 123, the substructure work is complete. So the stages B and C superstructure work. So this is the work that I'm mentioning we are going to be constructing or erecting the gantry for. We are going to start on the east side of the Park Avenue Viaduct, and that's for stage B. And that's going to start here in Q2 of 2024 before transitioning over to stage C, which is on the western side of the tracks, in Q2 of 2025. So we will be working in stage B. We'll start in Lot 12, working our way south, and then switch over to stage C on the western side of the tracks, working from 116 up to 123rd. There will be, as the notice that we sent out indicated, there will be some street impacts. There's approximately 4 weeks of street impacts as we erect the gantry. This is a 60-foot structure, so it is a big structure because it needs to be high enough to span both sides of the viaduct. So as we put that together, there's 4 weeks of impacts that will be underway. There will be 1 lane that remains open from Q2 of 2024 for stage B on the northbound side, or on the southbound side, while northbound traffic is detoured. And then when we move over to stage C, it's the reverse. So from Q2 of 2025, there will be 1 northbound lane opened while southbound traffic will be detoured. So this is an image of what the gantry crane or the gantries are going to look like. They'll be operated between East 115th Street and East 123rd Street, beginning in March, approximately around March 18th is when we'll start putting those up. The gantry is a piece of equipment. It's similar to a crane. It'll be used to remove sections of the viaduct. So what we'll do is we'll go in and dismantle the viaduct by saw cutting it and unattaching it from the substructure, and then the gantry crane, almost like one of those claw games that you see, will span the viaduct and go north and south, picking pieces of the disassembled viaduct off, putting it on the back of trucks, be trucked away, and then eventually putting in the new prefabricated pieces. But as I mentioned earlier, we do have a video that'll give you a better sense of that. So each gantry consists of horizontal beams that cross above the tracks on the viaduct and is supported by vertical legs stationed on Park Avenue. Those vertical legs have truck tires that are even larger than truck tires that will help it, move north and south along Park Avenue to complete its task. The use of the gantry is anticipated to help minimize the impacts on the surrounding community because it's going to expedite the overall construction duration and avoid any significant impacts to Metro North. The vast majority of this work will be conducted on weekends when there is a minimized Metro North schedule so that there is less impacts to the schedule. As I mentioned, there will be road closures adjacent to the gantries, and especially during the erection of the gantry. We'll continue to keep everybody updated on the progress of the erection of the gantry and then when the detours go into effect as well. The first superstructure span replacement is scheduled for May of this year. So here's the video, which probably, you can see visually better than I can explain it, how this operation is actually going to work.
It's like a 3D print. Oh. Go back to truck drivers, it's pretty impeccable timing.
What to say?
It only work like this, right?
Right.
We're not even slowing down.
Yeah, that's what's exciting. Yeah, I'm looking at the way can fit this before there. Yeah. That'd be 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
That's what I was thinking.
So that's the plan.
Like, how much noise does that make?
And the quality of air with those trucks going back and forth. For those people, like me that are coming.
First of all, the viaduct doesn't reach.
And they said this would be a weekend closure?
Nowhere near you.
Is that what they said? This would be a weekend
It's
closure?
gonna be weaker.
I think several weekends, yeah.
Probably the entire summer.
Oh, that was my third question.
Also, yeah, all those events that.
Q2, Q3. No, I don't know if they're planning on closing, or one of my questions is, will they close? Wait, what would choose at the end? Will weekdays be closed, which is weekends? They're doing the work, I mean, guys, doesn't mean that the street will be open for the week. They're not just going to like put those huge machinery back and forth and like, they'll be there the entire time.
So as I mentioned, the video probably did a better job of explaining it than I did. So the lots below the viaduct will be closed during the superstructure replacement. Obviously, we've moved those folks out of there already. Staging areas will be established adjacent to the work zones, not only for the prefabricated pieces of material, the slabs and the track, but the clear zones that DOT requires for emergency access will be maintained at all times. I know there was some questions, and we'll get to the questions at the end, but I know there are some questions as to what would or wouldn't be open or available in terms of detours, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So the expected duration of the superstructure work is Q2 of 2024 to Q4 of 2025, and that work will be rolling literally and figuratively as the gantry rolls north and south on those giant truck tires. So as far as La Placita goes, La Placita, as you know, is underneath the viaduct between East 115 and 116. We're anticipating that there will be impacts to La Placita based on that superstructure work, which again runs from Q2 of 2024 through Q3 of 2025. We are consulting and working through EDC to relocate La Placita, and the events will be any events that were previously scheduled for there or future events will be temporarily relocated to Lot 2 underneath the Park Avenue Viaduct between East 112th and East 113th Street. And then once construction is complete, we will move operations back to Lot 5, and La Placita will be restored in its existing location and to its existing functionality. So from a community outreach standpoint, we've been out and about in the community for quite some time, even when we were doing the temporary work before we got to this full restoration or replacement work. So 21 and 22. Then in 22, we switched to the full replacement work. So from 22 to 23 and now into 24, we've been engaged in a robust communications effort, which includes, but is not limited to, the STEM events that I mentioned. We have a quarterly newsletter. We do twice monthly pop-ups. Sometimes they are in conjunction to events that Uptown Grand Central has. We work with the adjacent properties and businesses to make sure that they're up to speed on what's going on and what's potentially happening right outside their doors. We have our Good Neighbor Initiative inspections where our project team and our communications team walk the alignment, looking for quality of life issues and grade the contractor on how they're doing with regard to upkeep and maintaining those quality of life issues. We send those report cards around to let you know how they're doing, and also to solicit feedback on how the contractor is doing. We have monthly office hours. It's the first Thursday of every month at our 2nd Avenue Subway Community Information Center at 125th and Park, just west of Park Avenue at 69 East 125th Street. So that's the first Thursday of every month. We have outreach team members from the Park Avenue Viaduct there to answer any real-time questions or concerns. And then we have a dedicated hotline and email for this project. Of course, if there's an emergency concern, we suggest or implore you to, in fact, reach out to 911. But if it's project related questions or concerns, we have those dedicated outlets to you. Of course, we've been meeting with Community Board 11 and elected officials. We have our quarterly stakeholder meeting and meetings with Friends of La Marqueta. And then we do community and business and interagency engagement as well. Some of the events in 2024 that have already taken place or that we have planned on the horizon. We sent out our monthly construction update in January. We had our office hours in January. We did outreach at the Three Kings Day event at La Placita in January. And then we sent out our quarterly newsletter at the end of January. Similarly, we had office hours, construction updates in February, and did a STEM event at Leakin Houses. We also did a tabling or a pop-up event at the 116th Street subway station to let folks know what's going on. And then so far in March already, we've sent out our construction update and monthly office hours, as well as our flyer on the mobilization of the gantry. This is just a timeline that speaks to the similar activity related to community outreach. And then I've already spoken to the arts and design component of this project. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see the existing art at 125th Street, just to give a sense of where the art will go. The art is targeted for 116th Street as part of this project. So it will be similar in size, but certainly different in composition to what we have at 125th Street right now. Some of the multitude of ways, both in Spanish and English, that we've been getting the word out. Our regular construction bulletins and newsletters, which I alluded to already. We have fact sheets and STEM information sheets. If there is any collateral material that Community Board 11 would like to have copies of, either in your office or for any events, please do reach out to us. We're happy to produce that for you and help provide the word in both English and Spanish. Similarly, if you know of any schools or organizations that would benefit from having an update on the project or being able to be tied into the STEM initiative, then we're happy to do that as well. This is the various contact information for the project, and again, alluding to the monthly office hours. Most of the folks on this call already are familiar with me and have my contact information, but you also can reach out directly to Andy Booter, who is my counterpart over at Metro North Railroad, and for whom we are delivering this project. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Chair, for questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Joe. Very thorough. We had a few questions and then we'll go around in case there's more questions. Will the street closures just be on the weekends or also on the weekdays?
So right now for the erection of the gantry, it'll be both. As we need to mobilize these 60-foot pieces of material. If you haven't already gotten the flyer, I'll make sure to send another one over after that explains it in greater detail. Nick, with regard to the weekend operations, does Nick have the ability to unmute, or does he need to be unmuted?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so during the mid-April, we're going to be closing 4 blocks at a time to pre-stage the materials. It's a lot of work to fit out the pre-built bridge units for the weekend replacement. So there'll be a rolling 4-block closure as we progress south. 4 blocks will be closed at a time, and blocks where superstructure was replaced will be reopened.
So I just want to be clear too, for the folks on the call, both the board and any audience members, when we say the blocks are closed, they are closed to through traffic. Any emergency vehicles, deliveries, or residents who need to get into or out of the block will be flagged in. Yeah, Nick?
Correct. And sidewalks will remain open. So this summer, well, really April, you're going to see northbound Park Avenue have closures. Southbound Park Avenue, traffic will be flowing through, and sidewalks remain open northbound and southbound.
I hope that helps.
Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle has a question.
Thank you. I was curious to find out when on the weekend that the trucks will be circling with the materials for the viaduct, that, how loud it would be, and will you be monitoring the air quality?
We currently have, you probably see it around the neighborhood, 4 trailers set up that continuously monitor the air for dust, VOCs, as well as noise. We also have upwards of 72 vibration monitors set up. We are not exceeding what's out there from the train traffic on the viaduct. Actually, most of our construction activities, all of it, is less than the existing train traffic. So on the weekend, we'll have the noise monitors set up, air monitors set up, and vibration monitors set up. And those are
Yeah.
real time and we get alerts if there's any exceedances.
Yeah, and just for awareness, VOCs are volatile organic compounds. That would be like diesel fuel or, anything that's non-organic compounds. So that's what it's monitored. They monitor for those as well. So when the trucks are idling or if they are idling, if there's any concerns or cause over that, they'll be picking up and catching that sort of stuff. And Nick, you could probably speak to it a little bit better than I can, but with regard to these monitors, both for air and noise, the alert levels for these are set well below the action levels. So we are dictated to by the state and by DEC as to what is allowable and not allowable, but we set our alert level well below action level so that we can stop doing something that is even approaching a possible action level.
Correct, correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to find out when you're going to start on a weekend, what time in the morning as well.
So Nick, it's about 4 weeks. It's going to be for us to start to get the gantry, constructed and set up. So that takes us in. What's that? Sorry. Oh, I thought somebody said something. So it's going to be about 4 weeks for the gantry to get set up before we'll get into the work around the disassembling of the north side or the east side of the viaduct, and then installing the new materials. Once the gantry is set up, Nick, when do we anticipate those first components to start coming out?
Okay, so we're gonna start assembling the gantries next week. If you drove on 125th Street, towards the RFK Bridge, you can see we pre-assembled the bottom half of the gantries. We chose to do it there. We're trucking them over Monday night. We are gonna set them southbound. In about April 15th, the first gantry is operational. We will be starting to take pre-built bridge units that were built in upstate New York, keeping the money in the state, as they say, and we'll be offloading them on northbound Park Avenue with a projected the first weekend of May.
I think Michelle also asked like what time of day the work is going to be happening on the weekends.
So the weekends, M&R force account, their forces will start at roughly 9 p.m. Friday night. They will finish their work to make the track safe for us by midnight, and then midnight we'll start removing the existing tracks, third rail, and start to work. We have 54 hours, so Monday morning at 5 a.m. trains are running.
They're gonna be working 24/7.
Every other weekend.
7, since you're gonna be doing it during the weekend, that's why I stopped myself.
Or to
Thank you.
I know this might be, something that's not directly under your purview, Joseph, but at one point, we did have some folks who were, living under parts of the, track, and I know there was a group that went out to try to get them relocated, and how did that all do? Or if it's not for you, can you have someone just reach out and let us know?
Yeah, I know there was a relocation effort. I don't know Molly from our team if she knows how that sort of all ended up or was resolved, but I can get those answers and circle back.
Thanks, because I was curious to know, some people had like a lot of belongings down there, and it was, there was a lot, so I would like to know how that worked out.
Will do.
Thank you.
This might be available somewhere, but I don't know it, so I'm just gonna ask. How much is all of this costing?
I do have that number. I don't have it off the top of my head. Not sure if Molly has that, or anybody on the comms team readily available. We do have an FAQ up on the website, but I'll certainly shoot that number over. We're going to send this presentation over to the community board. And when we do that, we'll pop that in.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Stephanie, Carlos?
So I'm just wondering, are they presenting to Echo Dev and like what's gonna happen to the Marqueta with the businesses there? I'm also wondering, under the viaduct, I think it's on the 118th, 119th. Like towards the front of the restaurant, not good, but that other restaurant. There's like a parking lot under the viaduct. Does MTA have anything to do with that? And what's gonna happen to like them? Are they gonna be moved as well when you guys start working under that area?
Yeah, so everybody has to be moved at one point or another. Some of the folks, like Urban Garden Center, were temporarily, permanently relocated. So they're going to stay in that lot 1 area because there's just too much componentry to move back and forth. Some of the other operations, like the parking operation, we can flip them from lot 9 to lot 7 while we're working in the respective lots, because we just have folks park somewhere else underneath the viaduct once we finish in that area. So there was New York Health and Hospitals had parking under there. NYPD had parking under there. And I believe it was Brown had, sort of paid for parking for residents underneath there. So all those operations, we've worked with them to relocate them, either temporarily, like I said, shifting them from one lot to another, or more permanently for a more extended period of time. But they'll be going back to those locations once the work is done.
What about the Marqueta and the stores in the Marqueta? Where are they moving to?
They're moving them to 112th.
Yeah.
Was in presentation.
Oh, they're
So they're
gonna.
gonna move them down to where it's already been done. And then as they come down and that placita is done, La Marqueta, they'll put them back.
Gotcha.
And so we're starting now north to south. And then when we flip over to the other side, we go south to north. So we'll be able to re-inhabit, if you will, those more southern lots sooner than later, because once we finish the east side, going north to south, and then go south to north on the west side, we're done with those southern limits.
You talked about the artists that are gonna be, the contract has already been issued.
Yep.
The people, the artists are from this community or they're from somewhere else?
Yeah, so there was over 40 artists that submit, they answered the open call, some of which a good chunk were from this area, the Harlem and East Harlem area. I'd have to double check where the artist was from, but they all had some ties to the community. Either they were born and raised here, or they now live and work here, or they have a gallery here. But let me confirm the exact relationship to the actual winner. While I can't share the winner, I can certainly share some of the details around them.
If you could share who are they, so if they do come from this community, we'd like to know. And if they're not from this community, also would like to know, because that seems to be one of.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to share the winner just yet, because there's a whole press announcement and a unveiling, surrounding that. But let me get the details on their relationship to the community. I can certainly share that.
Thank you.
Are they gonna talk to Echo Dev, or have they done that already?
This is public safety. We're not shoving here for Echo Dev. They gotta do their own. I'm not sure what this Echo Dev, I mean, obviously there's impacts to certain businesses,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's why they come here, whether or not they go to Echo Dev. I mean, we will be presenting this at full board
Okay,
and everything else, right?
okay.
Okay, we wear 20 hats, Stephanie. Alright. Do we have any other questions for Joe?
Yeah, going further north, up to the east, past 125th, say east 128th, 129th. The residents in that area, you said you had workshops,
Yes.
in terms of, we had Lincoln houses?
Yep.
Okay, and was the area, again, like I'm saying, were they notified about this meeting or workshop that you had?
Yeah, so we try to get the word. Obviously, our our reach is only as good as the folks who we have contact information for. So we try to work through the elected officials, obviously the community board like yourselves, who have greater than one-to-one reach. So we're hopeful that folks are coming to our website, to your website, to get this information. We also go door to door, and Molly and her team, Eric Zaretsky, who's also on this call, part of the community outreach team, are literally, speaking with as many people as they can to try to get as many of these STEM events or workshops lined up as possible. So if you do know of somebody who could benefit from it, please, by all means, pass that information along to us. There is, I mentioned, multiple phases to this project. So phase 2 will go north of 125th Street up to, I believe it's 136th or 137th. So that's in the process of being worked out right now. We're not there yet, but eventually, once phase 1 is wrapped up of this work, we'll be going further north. So we'll be dealing more with that northern, the northern residents on a more regular and frequent basis once we get done here. But we're certainly inclined to speak with them as early and as often as they like now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph,
Yes.
this is Michelle speaking. I was curious to find out, after La Marqueta, La Platita, I think, is it La Marqueta? Okay. Is moved to its temporary home and then moves back to its actual home, what happens to that space since it was large enough for La Marqueta? Is that available for another La Marqueta?
Potentially, but that would be under the purview of EDC. We essentially become a tenant of EDC. When we move when we move Urban Garden Center down to Lot 1, we're actually paying EDC, and UGC Urban Garden Center pays us what he would have paid when he was in Lot 6 or 7. Similarly, when La Marqueta, whatever the relationship with La Marqueta was with EDC, that continues to exist. So when they go back, I don't know what EDC's intention is for lots 1 and 2 when those folks move back out, but that would be through EDC.
Thank you.
The viaduct is very complicated jurisdictional piece of property in our community. MTA does the top, EDC does the inside, DOT, the lighting. I mean, it took many years ago, there was no lighting, and we fought to get the lighting, and we had to go through this whole process. And so we learned a lot of the jurisdictional and who belongs to what. So yeah, that would be, they just do the top.
Any other questions for Joe? This is a very thorough presentation, Joe. We appreciate you being here and giving us this information. We'll make sure that once we get the presentation, we'll disseminate it through our website, to our, make sure it's part of the full board report that we give every month, to make sure that if there's anyone else affected, anyone that we can help through your workshops, that we can put you in contact with them.
That's great. We really, really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here and always, being a partner in getting the word out. So thank you very much, and enjoy the great weather we're having.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
This feels like one of the most urgent things that has happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been happening for like quite some
I have
time.
a question. Do we have all this for Second Avenue subway? Cause I saw Hector at.
He's also on the Second Avenue, so there's a task force on Second Avenue. So it's like, we'll bring some of that information here, but it's also being done.
Oh, okay, cause I haven't seen this much information since before
Well,
my.
Second Avenue task force, yeah.
Yeah, really,
It's still, like in the make believe zone, like it's coming along
Yeah,
pretty well.
I think they just put out, or they haven't even put out the RFP.
Now, in the summer, we're planning on doing a tour, so if any of you wanna go deep dive, tunnel diving with us.
Probably 11 o'clock.
Like we'll let you know with time.
Well, I just heard Hector was coming back, so I thought, oh, if he comes back, then we'll
I
definitely have
mean,
a lot better.
but a lot of this is funding based,
Yeah.
like we can, we actually spoke to Joe, and Joe said that, cause we couldn't do it in the winter, cause it's very cold. So he's adjusted the summer is a better time, so we will be doing that.
It's a printer, it's just
The
one.
printers,
Yeah.
it's a ghost, there's a couple of dead bodies here, Marlene took care of it.
Oh, thank you, Marlene.
They're buried in the backyard, that's why we don't do picnics back there. Just in case. All right, we're gonna move forward. We have a very short discussion. It's very internal. We've been speaking in this committee about the e-bike safeties for a very long time. We had fatality in our community on 119th and Pleasant some time ago. There was an elderly Individual crossing the street, e-bike came, at the time, there was no traffic light, now there is a traffic light there. We're going to push DOT to also put a traffic light on 100 on the next street. Because before Pleasant wasn't as traversed as it is now, and now it is, but it happened to be that he hit him head on, like just, and I believe he died on site. We've sent letters to the state, we've sent letters to the city, but apparently there was an article which we'll share with you as well. And apparently now the mayor is pushing very hard on the policy for e-bikes because it is continuously expanding. People still have certain qualms about riding buses and trains, particularly that more and more people are riding them and service is not overall improved whatsoever. So we'll see how this comes into play. We also want to see how, many years back, we pushed on, and we'll have this conversation in the future, going with DOT and MTA. But in certain cities like Tokyo, there have been intercity trains, something like Metro North, Amtrak, things of that nature. Once they come into the city, they actually allow people to come in and the fare reflects a different thing. I'm not sure what Metro North charges from Harlem to 34th Street. But I'll find out. The Grand, I just wanted to say, sorry.
I think it's like, it's gotta be different.
What?
I mean, they don't check, it's true, they don't check the tickets.
That's not-
I looked at this thing on the record.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Oh.
They seem to
It's $15.
The few times I've gotten on it, they always, like, and I have it on my phone, so it's fine.
I was saying, I'm gonna.
Otherwise, they charge you double. But anyhow, that's something we discuss at committee going forward. I think these are things that we can talk to the city and state, and hopefully at one point, someone there can be like, oh, this is a great idea, because it is, right? We need more of that. Amtrak, they say, has a lot of empty, and drives right through the Bronx, right into Manhattan. I mean, these are things that can help us move the city around. But in this particular case, obviously, there have been a lot of issues with e-bikes, crashes with vehicles. There's no insurance on this. If they damage your vehicle, now you're on your own. You have to go through your own insurance. If there's a fatality, but you could be liable, your insurance could be liable, they don't cover anything. It's still considered a personal. Actually, it doesn't have a qualification. Very recently, they put something up about speed and helmets. But in our position here in this committee has been that there should be something more substantial on how these e-bikes, because these e-bikes are doing well over 25 miles an hour. Some of them are doing 40, and I'm driving them, zooming through. And I enjoy them. I have a little scooter myself, so there's nothing against having them. It's simply implementing things that can be common sense to protect. I mean, I think insurance should be something pivotal. I mean, on a scooter, on a gas scooter of an equal size, insurance is very minimal for a yearly basis, $300-400. And it covers you, and it covers the other person, anyone that gets hurt in the process. So, I mean, at some point, if this isn't just like this new thing and a new toy, you see them, they're on the sidewalk sometimes and they get real close to you.
Yeah.
One of them hits you and you get injured, you're on your own. I opened my door once and he was so close to the car that I didn't even open, I just creaked it open. And he hits my door, opens the door, falls down, this, that, obviously, for me, just gets up real quick, runs away,
yeah.
And it caused a little damage, which I ended up taking care of on my own, but, it could have been worse, because it's someone elderly getting down, hits them, breaks something. It's something that we need to consider overall. I wanted to bring it up, because it is something that we've continuously worked on for now a few years, because roughly before COVID, it was kind of the new thing. Now it's become very, very popular. Go ahead.
I was also gonna ask, and I didn't wanna ask NYPD, like, what's our plan for the summer? Cause last summer, if you had the four-wheelers doing the wheelies, they wouldn't chase, but now I heard that they'll chase you and take your bike. Like, what is their plan for the summer, I'm wondering too?
Their official plan is that they don't chase, but
Okay,
if it happens to catch them, they have to catch them. They will catch them. Four-wheelers and dirt bikes, so we're
Yeah.
talking about dirt bikes and quads. Disclosure, I know a lot of those people don't.
I know.
But, you know, it's interesting though, but they tend to stay on the streets, they tend to, like, it's almost even safer, like, I have a bigger issue with electric vehicles, they tend to be on sidewalks. That system me more often than anything. You know, and it's, you know, when they're zooming by you at 30, 40 miles an hour on the sidewalk. It happens on my block all the time. And now they know to slow down, cause I had almost altercations over this situation. But, it's a problem, huh?
And does this include too, I'm worried about the lithium ion batteries and the battery charges? Right, yeah, is that, I mean, I think it was like a CB12, even there's a big fire in an apartment building, somebody died.
There's been multiple, part of the article.
Yeah.
Fire, it's a big issue though with this technology, it's obviously like a technology that's growing, I mean. You know, a few years ago, the Samsung phone were getting on fire.
Yeah,
That was like the no.
Long time ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, considering, right? It wasn't that long. I'm still a Samsung user, but you know, I did look at my phone real funny for a while after that happened. So it's a, you know, where we use the e-bike over anything that's just purely electric, because anything gas is, like, for instance, we're talking about those dirt bikes, those are completely off-road vehicles, they are not street legal. But at any point that you get caught with one of those, it will be removed from you. Right, their registration is a off-road, everything labeled around them in DMV and the state is not for street use.
Interesting.
Right, so there's nothing that will allow them to legally, there's nothing in place like that for not just e-bikes, because some of them are just one wheel, you know, you've seen a uni-wheel thing, and there's rollerblades now, there's skateboards now, there's a few different kind of things that they have. But typically the biggest ones are the bikes and the scooters, right, the two wheels. But there's nothing really in place and I believe that, you know, they're just taking too long to get this going, right? Because it's a priority, it's spreading, like people are using them everywhere.
I think the New York Times just published a thing where the first time there ever bike fatalities are up because not just pedestrians in the street, but lots of people on the bikes are dying as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing 40 miles an hour, you don't have a helmet and you fall wrong, it's, you can kill yourself very, very easily.
Now, I know this is about e-bikes, however.
Remember in the beginning when it says, states the topic?
Bikes in general can go very, very fast. And I've been almost hit just getting out of the bus. And the bike is going, I don't even know how fast it was going, and I felt that almost getting hit. So it's bikes in general that are not following any rules. And so I think, I mean, where I grew up, we were given that, okay, you have to follow a certain rule, you have to be on a certain side of the street, you have to use hand signals before you turn. I mean, this is something that is just a safety issue. All bikes in general should learn how to behave on the road.
If you're gonna have a motorcycle, you need a motorcycle license, there's certain information going on. If you see a bike that passed you that fast, it was probably an e-bike. Most bikes are just not that fast unless it's something. But I don't know what, I don't know what fast, that's also perception, right? I don't know what fast is for Michelle, right? You know what I mean? It may not be the same as for like me or.
Fast is fast enough.
Oh, we love you, Michelle, it's okay. You know, the perception of Steve can be very different from, you know.
Anyway, I wanted to stress not just to e-bikes, but to all bikes should learn.
I think
to
that
follow a
bikes
certain
in
rule.
general, the city already has regulations.
But it's not enforced.
They're not enforced, but we're not, you know.
Although there are a few people that actually get tickets, they say, okay, where's your license? And they take the car license and give them a ticket. And the ticket is for $50. Is that for something? No, another person I know.
If you run a red light on a bicycle,
That's a big one.
an officer can stop.
Okay, have they been doing that?
I mean, it depends how
If
blatant.
you're unlucky, if you go too close to a person and you're on a bike, whether it's not for life, you will get a ticket. The ticket, $50 to $100. If you're on the sidewalk, the ticket is supposed to be $200.
No.
That's
So there is- so there
that's
is-
just general, it's in place.
Also,
not being-
also
it's
the
not
language of sidewalk is it's very vague, it's a safe speed, it doesn't necessarily say what a safe speed is.
Well, 40 is gonna say speed, because we don't even have.
So
that
the
on
officer
street.
is allowed to interpret what safe is. But again, a regular bicycle, you know, meanwhile, e-bike, man, that little scooter I have.
Oh, no,
like,
but-
You hit that thing, it's doing 25 like this.
So if my understanding is correct, there are laws in place, or there's rules in place for bikes,
For bicycles.
and they can't be switched, they cannot be used on e-bikes?
Currently, it's not the same.
It's a new toy.
I think they can be, but again, it's a question of enforcement, right? Like, is a cop gonna go after an e-bike that has like a delivery item that's zooming down to 40 miles an hour? Is it worth it to them?
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
I've seen them, like, I've seen one on 116 going on Second, and he just blatantly ran the red light, and they,
Yeah.
you know, he stopped. I don't know what happened after that, I'm not, but they stopped.
Okay.
You know, if you're a delivery, they make you wear, you know, typically should be bicycle, you have a vest, so that's fine, so you can go, but. Look, this is an issue that's going to keep growing, because people will keep using, it. And now that the weather is nicer,
It's
there'll
gonna,
be more, I mean.
Yeah.
You know, I used mine yesterday, I came down Metro North, used it, zipped around, went up Metro North, went back up, came back down. You know, they had my car, changing the windshield, so that was my ride for the day, it was pretty convenient, honestly, but. At the same time, I'm considering,
I'll be
yeah,
screaming at
I'm
you.
considering like, you know, if I hit someone with this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but mind you, I have, you know, it's difficult, right, cause there are people that don't have a lot of riding experience. I've been riding
Yeah.
motorcycles since I was like 6 years old, you know, by 8, my father had me racing them. So obviously, there's a little more experience involved here, but I've seen people get on them and crash, and maybe they hit a car and then they just take off. Even with the rental ones, you know, I've seen, they get on them, and they're using them, and they hit a car, and I'm like, oh. And then they just walk away with them, and now this car has a nice dent there.
Yeah.
There's no plate, there's nothing to identify, you know,
It's very upsetting,
It
because if you get
becomes-
a car that's just no dent and someone just.
It becomes problematic, so this is
dents it at
something
the
that
street, You'll be upset.
I wanted to bring up so that we can continue talking about. We'll wait to see, but if not, we could also formalize something, you know, or send a letter to, we can discuss it next month as well, maybe we can send a letter to the council, to the mayor's office, and asking that there should be something in place for these.
So there is legislation that's,
They're working on different angles, it's coming from the state, it's coming from here, but you
no,
know.
city council actually has legislation, but it's not in regards to, it's e-bikes inside houses.
Right, because of the batteries and the
Correct.
fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Correct,
That handles one problem.
correct.
Obviously, that's a very big problem,
Mhm.
right? Because when you burn down
Yeah,
buildings, it's a big
Yeah.
problem.
it is.
So that is great that they're starting there, but now we need like a more safety on the road analysis. Because again, there's certain cities that categorize them. Tier 1 means they go this speed, tier 2 means they go this speed, tier 3 means, and every tier has different safety, you know, tier 1 may not have a helmet requirement, but if you're going this fast and if the city and the state puts this in, when you purchase them, then it will require you to have these kind of things in place.
What states on that?
I have it for you, I can send it to you.
I would just, I feel like the way they categorize Vespas, like, I don't know what you call them. Like, yeah, like a Vespa. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, that could be a solution.
That's what that is, that's what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same,
some moped.
yeah, same.
Certain mopeds,
Just a
like for
brand name.
instance, there's 50cc, it cannot go on the highway, it just doesn't have the speed, they're not allowed, they're for.
Yeah, I think you know about that.
Intercity, yeah.
Oh, it's
Right.
50cc.
50cc is a small engine, so you need a certain amount of engine
Power.
power to be able,
Engine
you know,
power.
there's
That
a
makes
minimum
sense.
speed for the
Yeah.
FDR, there's a
Okay.
minimum speed for like the
There we go.
95, 87 interstate.
Mhm.
So probably they can do a parkway, or, you know, the FDR, but they can't get on a main. You would need a larger, and they categorize them, they're like, this is this. And if they catch you riding it, then you'll get a summons, or it could be removed from you because you're obviously being unsafe, and you're making it unsafe for other people.
Gotcha.
Like if your car is doing 40 miles an hour, you get a ticket.
No, I
It's
get
on-
that
it's on a
part,
highway.
I get that.
Oh.
I just didn't get the 50cc's, but I got.
Yeah,
okay.
the 50 is just the engine stuff.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's what we'll do. I wanted to bring it up so we can use this we'll see what happens, and then for next month, we can pop something forward, because we've already said things forward. Just kind of like, use the reminder. And I think that's it for tonight, because the discovery reform, we will have someone next month come in. James was unable to make it this month. Jordan.
Oh, there it is.
Jordan Stockdale, and he will make it for April.
Just letting you know that I'd like to invite folks from Legal Aid Society to talk about the same thing.
Which one?
Oh, I mean, I think there's policy reform units, which is like broader legal aid Manhattan, I think. But it's just, I think it's important to have a full portrait of what these reforms might look like for us.
Well, sure, so bring it up to me so we can have it on the committee.
Sure, yeah, I talked to Angel, but I'll make sure I would do it.
Yeah, anything to do with committee adoption, we go to the chair, so.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll bring them in.
Yeah.
We'd like to, and I'll send you the information that I got from the DA's office so that you can kind of like crunch on it in the meantime. It's just basic information which our chair Xavier fought quite hard to get, right? Because they didn't really want to give it to us at first. But we had it, we might as well use it, which is why we brought it up. But he'll be here next month, and so put me in touch with the legal aid. It'll be great, it'll be great, but I don't think. We have our own concerns about the reforms that are happening. Some reforms we're very grateful for, but there are other reforms that as a committee we want to talk about. Particularly when it comes to youth, as you all know that gang violence is our biggest public safety issue, particularly when it comes to the youth.
Yeah.
They tend to use the younger kids as the shooters.
Yeah.
They know the laws
Yeah.
and they're working within the laws. A few summers ago, I know one kid who had 3 shootings within a week and a half, and he's in and out. When he sees a judge, his records are sealed. The judge does not see anything that happened prior to him. So he makes very small decisions based on his age. He was a very young kid. And then the next judge makes the same decision, didn't see that he had a shooting, a few days before. And the third judge didn't see it either. And I think at some point, and obviously we're here to like protect the youth, but when the laws are being used in the counter way, right, in a negative situation, there should be like some accountability, because otherwise what happens then is that they believe that they're above the law.
Yeah.
And they're cowboys, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, then what will happen is that the older people in this organization, because the NYPD, to be clear, labels them as a gang. That label came just a few years ago, I think it was like 3-4 years ago, which is a big difference for them to label as a gang in terms of how the NYPD views them. And it has been proven, that's why we had our
Safety awareness conference.
and in that was focused on particularly youth and how they're being used and how they're, and they're amped up to be these shooters.
Yeah.
And they're told, nothing's gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
You're underage, this is what's gonna happen, you get locked up, you don't say anything, you don't know anything, and they will be released. So imagine someone that shooting Barack up by Jefferson and, in one summer has 3 shootings and just ends up being released over and over. It's a problem, right? So we're here to help the community and help this youth, because what happens is some people may view it as like, oh, you're attacking the youth. No, what we're attacking is the system that they're taking advantage of. They know that these kids will go in and out, so they push them to be aggressive and they push them to be shooters and they push them, and the kid feels empowered. It's like, oh, nothing's gonna happen to me, I'm gonna keep shooting. Right, and that's the problem, that's a big problem, right? Because now you're talking about their perception and how they view themselves. And then that's the hardest thing to change in anybody. So, we have to be able to help our community, and this is the biggest public safety issue that we have in this community. And it's tenement against tenement, this neighborhood with this, and some of these kids can't walk down those streets.
Right.
When we have our
Safety awareness conference.
we have to plan where to have it.
Yeah.
It can't be near there, it can't be near here, we can't, people,
It has to be on a
it can't be
common
at
ground.
Union Settlement, because Union Settlement is right across the street, it can't be, like, it may seem simple, but there's a very strategic reason why we pick one place, because then people can arrive, and even then.
And they can go back home.
And they can go back home hopefully peacefully. Some of these kids will take a train from 116 just to avoid walking, they take the train from 116 to 110 to avoid walking through Jefferson. they rather just hop that train or pay the $2.75. Cause the consequences of walking through that, those two streets are too much for them. So obviously, as we better our community, this is something that we need to keep in mind. And that's why reform is very interesting to us, because a lot of changes happen and they don't really, ask us. So I think the governor put something where they can't, anything under a certain age, I think it's 11 or 12, they can't be tried for a crime. And that's, all of that.
I'm so sorry, can I add a footnote to that?
Please.
I do hope too that part of the conversation can discuss, why do kids from the migrant houses or rejection houses have beef, right? And like, what are the economic opportunities in place for kids at those houses, right? I think that's totally part of the conversation too, right? Like, what leads a kid to be bored or have bad role models in their life, right? And what are some of the ways that we can attack those cycles? I just hope that's part of the conversation.
Absolutely, that's why we've pushed forward our MAP program that's so.
Yeah,
close
sure.
on,
What MAP, that's why.
what it does, why we're pushing on these programs that have, like gym time and everything, make sure they're closed. They're open to kids past a certain time. Most shootings statistically is right after school.
Yeah.
They used to have.
And a lot of them, I'm sorry, but a lot of the NYPD don't understand how these kids are getting out at 12 o'clock. Like, how are these schools allowing you, like a senior gets out at 12?
Yeah.
Well, fill up their schedule.
Budget
You know what I mean? Like, or spaced out, there in the city has done certain things where like, if this high school gets out at 2 and then this one gets out at 3, they've noticed that the drop in crime is tremendous, right? It's like sometimes it's not even, it's a kind of human nature where like, people start like, I'm from here and you're from there, and now we're, yes, we not alone. And sometimes it just happens. And there was a high school that he brought up in the presentation that he's like, when we changed the time of how they got out of school, 80% of our problems were okay. But the issues with the tenements, we can speak another time. These are long-standing issues. I mean, and a lot of it is economic. Don't think it's not. It's not just kids. This is drugs, and that's why they're considered gangs, because there is an economic piece to this. This is just kids being bad and messing around. There is drugs involved, there are guns involved, there is they consider it an organized behavior behind this. And that's what our concern is, because particularly they're aiming for these young kids that may not have that guidance and may not, and they're molding them to be aggressive.
There was a conference that happened with youth and education, Teens 14 Summit, and the old guard came and apologized to them, saying that we started off really just to have as a family, and then it just fell apart into what it became. And I think it would be a good thing to keep that awareness up. I mean, just a 10-year-old asking, well, what do I do if I find a gun on the ground? What do I do? I mean, just things that actually happen. But to give advice on exactly, don't touch it, don't put your fingerprints on. I mean, simple things that most kids would just say, oh, look.
Yeah.
And everything that gun has done is with their fingerprints now. I mean, they can't take that away. So I think we are going to have another safety awareness conference and incorporate, yes, a lot of what we're discussing. And if you have any ideas.
Oh, what's up?
That one was on a rush, but this time we can plan it
Yeah,
out.
I'm
And
really
it was successful considering the situation, so we were pretty happy with the overall. Loretta?
Yeah, have any of y'all ever heard of the program on Scared Straight
Yes.
in Jersey?
Yes.
Where they used to take a group of student or children with behavioral problems into the jail.
Oh, I've been
You know, they did
there. I
that.
mean, as a student, I was in there. I was one of those kids. They used to do that, not just in Jersey, they used to do it here.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Even most of the guys in there.
Still do that. We try to.
In Westchester County, you see it some, Yonkers, Mount Vernon, places of.
They still do that, don't they stop doing?
I don't know, but like, I've heard they still do it.
It's not college scared, it's like organizations that take troubled kids into channels.
Yeah, so then it's not the Steer Straight program, it's just taking them to jail.
Steer straight was like, go to jail.
And they like really try to scare you straight.
This is what it is, this is what it is, this is my life here, and it was, you know.
Yeah.
But most
It is.
people that were there already understood what that life was,
Right.
unfortunately. Like, we knew, you know, my cousins were like, one of them was, grand theft, everything, you know, the other one just enjoyed violence. You know, and the more you are in that world, the more you learn.
Yeah.
You learn, oh, this will give me 3 to 5, this is this, and you know, you
You like,
kids don't know.
you get smarter.
They know really quickly, they know, that's why we're saying that we wanna, there are some, in the reform, there are some issues where they're being taken advantage. And the systemic issues, which kind of brought up, is something that we should always look to see how we can help. But obviously those are more difficult, but it doesn't matter, because we just have to keep going at it. But when we see little issues like this and things that can help significantly, because then, you know, if a kid knows that having a gun and shooting a gun can lead him to have real consequences, the odds are he's not going to do it as easily as he would otherwise. Right now, they know, so most of the shooters, and if you go to the precincts, most of those shootings are done by underage kids. And it's unfortunate. And we'll work with youth and education, obviously, and whatever regard we can. And so they're doing great work over there as well. But, right, let's do a roll call. Thank you, Marlene, for being with us.
Thank you, Marlene.
I'm not happy.
Jose Alvarado,
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo, Anthony Brown. Kenneth Crouch,
Present.
Carlos Diaz,
Present.
Wanda Hopkins. James Mason,
Present.
Claudia Perez,
Ali's here watching.
Dawn Sanders here. Loretta Stoll,
You guys.
and Michelle Clemens.
I am here.
Okay. I just want to shout out that.
We are officially adjourned. Thank you. Good night.
You
know, the little, text message that Rosa sent out with the little.
Oh, I love that. I shared it on
Very
Instagram. Yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
Rosa sent out a little like meeting, message, like.
You know, I'm waiting until the
QR code.
No, it's, you know, they respond, yeah.
No.
I can call you.